What's going on, guys? This is Kaishiro. Welcome back. So we are back with another video. So in this video we're going to cover OCG Metagame tier list, Pre-ALIN or Alliance Insight that will be dropping this Saturday this week, and we are going to cover the remainder of the January 2025 post QCTB format that introduced support for Dragon, Mage, Orcus, and Punk. So now we do have a firm grasp of how the metagame have folded from the QCTB, and also we have an early premise how the format can shape this coming all-in format this week. So without further ado, let's start. So we do have S, A, B, C, and D tiers here. We are going to cover each deck and justify why they are here and what is the reason behind their inclusion here. So without further ado, let's start. So starting off first on the D tier, we do have Purely. So Purely got some major results from Korean tournaments mostly and some Japanese tournaments. It has seeing traction from the past 2 weeks, and it is picking up steam due to how consistent the deck can be. With Delicious Memory going back to 3, you are able to have more extenders, and also you have a beefed up Noir on your field. And of course, once you set up the Noir, and the most probable option for Purely would be playing Floodgates on top of your Noir. So you do have a tower and also a floodgate like the Fissure, Summon Limit, and all of those floodgates that can be played on Purely. And the format is kinda graveyard reliant, so you could pretty much annihilate people with Dimensional Fissure and all of those graveyard centric floodgates. And also Summon Limit with Noir is instantly game over. Most of the time, if your opponent doesn't have an out towards the Summon Limit, they would instantly scoop from that. So I think Purely is in a very decent spot and potentially will be better if the format will shake up once again. And of course, the Hand Trap and Floodgate lineup of Purely can very much adapt on the best decks out there. And moving on next, we do have Invoke Bestial Dogmatica. So before it was Invoke as a Mina, but the recent trend for the Invoke right now was the inclusion of Dogmatica and Bestial. With Dogmatica, you have a more spacious main deck, and of course Bestial are pseudo hand traps as well. Not only they are an engine for you, it is also serving as a hand trap towards the Malice, Orcus, and other light and dark decks here. So you have like a more spacious room with built-in hand traps from the Bestial, and you always guarantee to have the Ecclesia and also the Dogmatica Punishment from the Dogmatica engine. The only twist in my opinion would be they are not playing the Maximus. They're not going to rely on the Invoke Dogmatica Shadal from before. They don't really want the Winda on their side of the field. They just need the Mekaba with probably Regained on their side and also a Punishment on their setup, and they just annihilate the opponent with the Fleur de Lis on your hand and also the hand traps. This deck has too much hand traps. I think that's the main reason why this deck is competent enough, because it has a very spacious room for hand trap. It could even be play the Metacall hand traps on the main deck. So probably that is one of the key contributors why Invoke Dogmatica Bestial is doing so much right now. And to be honest, I was very surprised because I thought it was just a flavor of the month or flavor of the week rather on the previous metagame tier list, but I was really surprised that it is seeing so much play, especially in Japan. So yeah, I think this is really interesting development here for Invoke. Next would be Snake Eyes White Forest as a Mina. So as weeks goes by, I think this deck is losing some steam. They are getting lower and lower each week, probably because the better version would be the White Forest as a Mina, and technically playing Kerafin Smith as well, no? So I think the White Forest as a Mina is much more patronized than the Snake Eyes variant, because with Snake Eyes you are playing more bricks with the Flamberge, all of those stuff. I think it could hurt your consistency sometimes, even though the Snake Eyes could give you some extra mileage of board. I think you are going to suffer from breaking issues sometimes with this build. So the more consistent and more spacious deck would be the White Forest as a Mina alone. So I think the Snake Eyes White Forest as a Mina is still decent in my opinion, but it suffers a little bit more with a lot of hand traps, draw, follows, maxi, rather than the White Forest as a Mina. So yeah, I think it loses on that department. That's why they are on D tier only, but nonetheless, it is still a decent deck, and on the hands of right pilot, it could still perform really high. Next would be Voices Voice. I think another deck that is seeing less and less play every week, but this is different for Voices Voice because Voices Voice has been stabilized for the metagame for a very long period of time already. Since last year, no? Voices Voice has been here, and they are going to just solidify their spot on this metagame because of the consistency and resiliency of the Voices Voice. Very effective, very simple to use. The gameplay is quite linear, but it is a deck that shows actual win conditions with the Skull Guardian Omni Negate, protection from the barrier, and the Omni Negate, and also the pop, and also the negate special summon from Sauravis. You have a ton of interruptions once you go first, and also you have a lot of intangibles as well, like Nadir Servant to dump the Garura to fetch the Maximus, and also you can play the Voices Voice under controlling floodgates like Summon Limit, Gozen Match, and Power Sync Stone, the likes of that, no? So it also contributes towards the better going first game of Voices Voice post game 2 or 3, no? So I think Voices Voice will just stabilize their position on this metagame, and they could probably be even higher if the format will kinda getting slower as well. And moving on, next we do have Labyrinth. So this deck also fell off from my previous report. I think Labyrinth has been more solidified on the previous 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and also on the late December, no? But yeah, people have been more inclined towards playing combo decks, mid-range decks, no? So decks like Labyrinth and also Runic has lost their spot on this metagame, especially Runic. The deck has lost it right now. I think Labyrinth is the only sole remainder of control stun hard rock back row deck that is clinging on the metagame. So yeah, I think things looks very bad for the control decks. I think Eldritch could give them some boost to represent the floodgate stun control decks now. But yeah, I think Labyrinth is still better with Eldritch right now, in my opinion, even the support of ALIN in consideration. So yeah, Labyrinth really solid on D tier, but for me, it will not go higher than that. Next, moving on towards the C tier, we do have Crystron. So Crystron, a lot of people doesn't know how good this deck can be, especially if they don't face this deck on their locals. And most often than not, this deck is seeing some major results each week from Next Play CS, from Quinta CS, and other big tiered events in Japan. So I think you cannot really count the deck out when we consider that this deck has been winning large tournaments in Japan, and probably Japan is the most competitive region in Asia, no? So the Crystron really proves that even though it is not seeing so much play, it is not really represented as much as the other decks, no? It has the potential to win some large tournaments and also be able to outgas almost all of these meta decks here. And moving on, next, we do have Kerafin Smith. So Kerafin Smith, I think this deck has been a serial winner on Southeast Asian regions. This deck has been performing Campus League, other previous events here in the Southeast Asia, the 3v3 Asia tournament, and the previous BLS tournaments. It has won so many tournaments already. Even on the most recent Campus League tournament, it got top 4 in our country with Sean Quijano. So all in all, I think Chimera has been very far successful on C regions rather than the bigger regions from the Japan, South Korea, China, and Taiwan, no? I think this deck is a deck that the more people disrespect it, the more it shines really well, and it proves a point that this deck has been winning their spot on large tournaments, major events in Southeast Asian regions. And all in all, I think the Kerafin Smith can go even higher if more people will try to pick up the deck and also use it on large tournaments. But right now, I think there's a handful of people that are very good at the deck, and they keep on winning large tournaments and on regular basis with this kind of deck. Moving on next, then by Dragon. So this metagame tier list is the whole representation in the whole Asia in retrospect. So if I'm just going to put Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, sea regions in massive consideration, I think Tenpai Dragon would be even higher. And the only problem would be a lot of people are using the deck, but they are not tapping consistently on Tenpai Dragon, but it is still very much played. It has numbers to back it up on a lot of regions, and Tenpai Dragon has been the most unorthodox deck that you could face on this metagame, because it just goes second. It doesn't matter if they lose the die roll, they're just going to go second, and potentially OTK no, from that, and the hand trap and board breaker setup of Tenpai Dragon would be a hassle to face against, because you don't really know what they are going to throw at you. Sometimes they throw Foalos, Nyalos, Purulya, and some builds does run the Lightning Storm and Forbidden Droplet Super Poly package, no? So yeah, it is very devastating going second, and if you're not really acquainted towards the Tenpai Dragon, you would be suffering a lot against this deck. And moving on next, we do have Gem Knights. Yeah, Gem Knights. So Gem Knights has been quite under the radar for the past 2 weeks, 3 weeks rather. It has been a solid B on a lot of tier lists from Japan, but it has fallen off on my opinion, because the format is getting standardized. The decks are pretty much carved into the minds of people that you should play this deck, or this deck shouldn't be played. Like what is happening in Japan, Korea, China. They are obnoxiously playing Malice, Orcus, Blue Eyes Primite, and sometimes Ryzil, no? So they know what is good and what is not. And decks like Gem Knights that are sitting on the middle of the pack would literally struggle from that, because it is a process of trial and errors, and the longer that the people see that Gem Knights is not up to par against the other decks here, the more they will drop it. And yeah, if you're just going to play with a more explosive deck, why not just go with Malice, no? Which is infinitely better in my opinion, which is getting more support as well from ALIN, no? So the Gem Knights are really suffering from those circumstances. So I think it is very unfair to justify the rank of this deck right now, because it is like the brother that has gotten the shorter end of the stick. So yeah, we cannot really stress enough how the standardization of the metagame have impacted the Gem Knights. But for me, it is still very valid, and it can come up on some certain weeks. And no, I think a lot of people are experimenting already on how to innovate the Gem Knights. They are fixing the ratios on the deck. They are creating a deck list that is far superior than the previous deck list of Gem Knights. Next, we do have Veril Atlantean, or the water deck. So this deck has been evolving. It is playing the Gen X package right now, and it is seeing so much play in online tournaments and also in Japanese YouTube channels. They are featuring the combo of Veril Atlantean featuring the Gen X, and it is really ridiculous and more explosive than the usual. And now they have 3 more 1-card combos on their deck, and with the bear of the one Gen X normal monster, no? So it doesn't matter that much. 3 1-card combos is far superior than the previous builds of the Veril Atlantean. And also, Veril has been getting a lot of wins already in locals in Japanese region, And on the recent Campus League tournament in the Philippines, Ayan J. Macolata also has won with Veril Atlantean, securing top 4 on the Campus League. So it is also proven that this deck can top large tournaments, major tournaments in the C region. So I am very excited whether this could be the shifting trend of Veril Atlantean entering the B tier, possibly. I can foresee an instance where it can happen, but it is still doubtful because other decks will get so much better moving forward. Moving towards the B tier, we have Dragon Maid, another deck that is losing some numbers due to the reasons that I have said earlier. People are now sticking with Orcus, Blue Eyes Primite, Malice, and Ryzil. So naturally, Dragon Maid players are also decreasing in number, but aesthetically and also the popularity of the archetype is also a thing to consider. A lot of people are enthusiastic on these type of decks, no, waifu archetypes, and of course dragon. No, there's a lot of fan base going on this deck. So some of the results of Dragon Maid are also contributed from that reason, and I think Dragon Maid is still a B tier deck, even though it has lost some major numbers on the past 2 weeks. And I myself have top Campus League tournament Philippines with top 8 finish on Dragon Maid, so I can really testify that this deck is a deck that can compete against the best out there. The only problem would be the vulnerability of the deck against hand traps. One Imperm, one Veiler can end your turn, one well-timed Ash could also spell the end for you, and you would rely on your non-engines, your hand traps, your going for cards to survive your turn. And sometimes it just feels so bad because you don't have much gas to navigate your plays, and unless you have drawn a copy of Hospitality, or you do have a Stern on your hand. So a lot of times you would be empty-handed once you get interrupted. So that's the glaring issue of Dragon Maid right now. And if you want to pick up the deck, it is cheap and still good, but keep in mind that it loses bad against a well-timed hand trap, and every other hand trap could hurt you. Lancea, Droll, Nibiru, even Nibiru could hurt you right now. And yeah, a bunch of hand traps could really end your turn miserably. So yeah, I think that's the issue for Dragon Maid right now. Next would be Memento Atlan, really solid deck. I think people has been sleeping on the Memento Atlan for a very long time already. They have been far neglecting the power of this deck, and I think people has been what do you call this, under the impression that Memento Atlan is not good enough towards the A tier or S tier sometimes, no. I think they have been in a echo chamber of the previous formats where Memento Atlan has been just sitting on the middle of the metagame. But right now, I think it is very different. A really skilled pilot of Memento Atlan can take this deck very far on the tournament, and I have witnessed it because I do have a lot of friends here in the Philippines has been playing really phenomenal with Memento Atlan, and they're winning each tournament here, online tournaments, locals, big events. This deck has been really off the steam, and I think with Memento Atlan, it is a blessing in disguise that a lot of people doesn't really pay too much respect. It is a deck that slithers in around the ban list almost every single time. They don't really get punished by the ban list. From the past 2-3 ban lists already, they have been slipping away from that. And yeah, I think they could still get away this time, this coming April ban list. That is just really crazy for a deck like Memento Atlan, which has been a perennial meta deck on the B tier or C tier on a very large period of time already. Next, we do have White Forest as a Mina. So this deck has been really performing well. As a matter of fact, if I'm just going to use the Japanese metagame only, I would rate the White Forest as a Mina on A tier, even higher than Ryzil. But yeah, I think Ryzil has been more represented on smaller regions. So White Forest as a Mina really solid deck can outgas everyone in this metagame. I think this has been the most explosive deck bar the Veril Atlantean. I think this deck can really set up the most obnoxious board out there, and also a lot of people has been putting targets on the back of Orcus and Malice due to the Artifact Lensea Chaos Hunter stuff, no? So White Forest can capitalize on the side decking patterns of most people, and a lot of people don't really respect the likes of White Forest as a Mina. Right now, they don't really play Droll anymore, and even Follows can be dropped on some deck lists as well. So yeah, they are far more prepared with Malice and Orcus, and I think this deck can go even higher if that continues, especially post-ALIN. And also the lore is not finished yet, so it might get new support coming next month or this coming Saturday if it gets more new announcement, no? So yeah, really interesting whether this deck will evolve or adapt towards the ALIN format, or they would just get away with the time and get even lower. Moving on next towards the 8th year with our Ryzil. So Ryzil has been really solid proof on the previous 2 weeks in especially Japan and South Korea. I think the sheer consistency of Ryzil has been top notch right now with Small World and other consistency cards that are getting some exposure on the main deck of Ryzil, especially the most recent iteration of Ryzil playing the Sharks engine, no? So it is more easier to play Ryzil because you do have supplementary cards to boost the consistency, and also you will get more new support from ALIN set, and the Ryzil would be more resilient. And Ryzil pretty much ends on the same thing almost every single turn: the Nether Duo Drive, the Whole Thruster, and random rank 4 on your side. So yeah, very consistent on what it's doing, and the Ryzil can also play a bunch of hand traps and non-engines, and the side decking is a thing of beauty for Ryzil. You can slot in Summon Limit, Solemn Judgment, Solemn Strike, and you can also play going second comfortably with Droplet, Trust, Talent, and Dark Ruler No More sometimes, no? So yeah, the deck is pretty much spacious enough for the changes in the metagame, and can also fit in some of the most ridiculous deck choices in the game right now, like System Down and other really solid cards to answer the Malice in Orcus. Moving on next, we do have Blue Eyes Primite. So Blue Eyes Primite has been getting power crept by Malice on the past week. I think Malice has been really outperforming everyone, but bear in mind that Blue Eyes Primite didn't get any pivotal adjustments or targets on their back. They're just doing what they can do to keep up with this metagame, and on some weeks this deck looks to be the best out there, and it is just a Triamid format right now in my opinion. It's just between Malice, Orcus, and Blue Eyes Primite. Ryzil is literally the 4th best deck, but the trio of Malice, Orcus, and BE Primite, it is solidified as the top 3 best decks out there, and it is just very interchangeable every single week. I think people has been tired of playing Blue Eyes Primite, so they just went along with Orcus or Malice on some weeks, no? So yeah, we cannot really defy the position of Blue Eyes Primite based on a single week. So I will give the benefit of doubt for Blue Eyes Primite because in my own retrospect, I think this deck is the best and very comfortable going second, and also very comfortable, more comfortable going first. And setting up the Primite engine with the Drill Beam, it is really ridiculous. And of course, you have Synchro toolbox on your side deck, rather extra deck as well, no? And moving on next, you do have Orcus. So Orcus has been the king of mid-range decks out there. I think if you want to just play a good deck with a lot of rooms for hand trap, a lot of rooms for going first cards with Solemn Strike, Solemn Judgment, and the Black Goat Loves, no? Orcus can literally play almost every single relevant card right now. Follows, it is no-brainer. You can play the Follows on your main deck, and don't really care about it going first, because you can just discard it. And also the likes of Forbidden Droplet also benefits you once you can cause your Orcus cards, Nightmare cards, no? So yeah, I think Orcus can answer almost every single deck out here, and that's the reason why I think Orcus is a deck to pick up right now. The sheer amount of adaptability of the deck can really be a pivotal value for you, and the only problem would be the Lancia, and the Chaos Hunter can also hurt you when people are siding it for Malice, no? But all in all, I think Orcus, one card combo, bunch of one card combos, and almost playing 25 non-engines on the main deck, so it's really ridiculous. And on top of that, you can also play Kerafin Smith to make it more resilient and explosive. And moving on towards the S tier would be Malice. I'm not really sure what happened, to be honest. I think people has been picking up Malice because the deck will get new support, and it looks to be very terrifying. Yeah, let's be honest, Malice post All-In really looks scary. I have seen the combo videos, the discussions, the theory crafting of most Malice players. It is really extraordinary. I think I am lost for words with the new support and the upcoming Cyber's cards. It is just looks really tad bit of tier 0 incoming format for Malice, and I wonder what deck could topple them at the top. I think Orcus can do it, and Ryzel probably, but yeah, Malice just looks really phenomenal and formidable this coming All-In. And even though people are really targeting your back, I think Malice has that enough edge, or what do you call this, edge, or enough wit to go against the tech options against you. And also you have infinite amount of resources once you can combo off literally drawing a lot of cards already, and bunch of consistency cards for Malice as well. So we are just lucky that the Gold Shark and the Allure got hit, because if not, this looks literally tier 0 in my opinion. So yeah, for now we do have S on Malice. So yeah, that sums up our OCG Metagame tier list video, Pre-ALIN. So if you found this video informative and helpful, please consider subscribing. It definitely motivates me a lot to keep providing this content for you guys. So once again, thank you for watching. See you on the next one. Peace.